Hi everyone! I'm just going to make a little video on the surface area of a triangular prism again because I've had a few questions about which width to use with which rectangle on the sides of the triangular prisms. So I'm going to work through questions 1 and question 2 on the worksheet that is linked in the class notebook. So this is the page that I'm working on, surface area triangular prism, and that way hopefully once we've done a couple questions together it'll just make a little bit more sense. I have marked everyone's sheets that have already been handed in to me. I've also gotten back to some of you about maybe redoing some questions or trying them again. So hopefully this will help you when you tackle them again. So question 1, I'm going to be writing down my own notes, then I'll flip the camera so that you can see what I've done and I'll explain it. So question 1, again, you always start with your formula. So SA equals 2 bracket base times height divided by 2. Add in length times width plus length times width plus length times width. Okay, so this is what I just started with. You do have to write the formula as is to start with. So even though on the next line I'm going to show you that these two 2's actually can cancel each other out, I do want you to start by writing down the proper formula. So then, next line we fill in what we know. So we're going to keep that 2 for now. So 2 multiplied by the base. Okay, so the base in question 1 is this right here. So that does not change. Imagine you're just looking at this triangle, okay, the gray part. The base, it's always the bottom of the triangle. And the height is always the distance straight up to the tallest point. It is not these angles, okay? Height is from the base straight up to the tallest point. So that's why I'm going to write down 6 times 4, base times height, divided by 2. Add. Now we're going to add in length times width plus length times width plus length times width. So pay attention here. So for question 1, the length is the distance from the front of your shape to the back of your shape. So it's this long line right here. So length is 11, okay? So I'm going to write down 11, and then we have to figure out what our width is. So it does not matter which rectangle you're choosing to do first, okay? So in this first one again, you can see that there's a big rectangle here on the side. There is a rectangle on the bottom. They didn't show you the 3D, but imagine there's a rectangle on the bottom here. And then there's a rectangle on the other side right here as well. So there are 3 rectangles. Doesn't matter which one you do first. The length, however, is the same for each of those rectangles. Okay, so let's do the bottom one first because to me, that just makes sense. So the bottom is 11. And can you imagine the rectangle is right along the bottom here? Okay, so it's 11 times 6. Okay, so this base actually counts as also one of the widths. All right, so 6 times 11. So on my sheet, this is what I've written so far. Okay, so 6 times 4 for the base times height. First one, 11 times 6. Now I'm going to add in another 11 times. We'll figure that out. Okay, so now let's do this side one. We know it's 11 because that's the length. This rectangle here, 11 times 5. Okay, so that is the width for this rectangle. 11 times 5 plus 11 times, now we have the other rectangle. So we have this side rectangle and it is the same width. So 5, the length again, imagine it going all the way to the back here, it is 11. Okay, the same distance. So this is what your second line should look like. Now on the next line, I am going to simplify. Okay, so I am actually going to take a step back. When I simplify it, this is when I'm going to go cross out my 2 2's. So when you multiply something by 2 and divide it by 2, it's like doing nothing at all. So now I'm going to go back, cross off those 2's. On the next line now, I just have 6 times 4, which is 24. 24 plus 11 times 6, 66. 11 times 5, 55. 11 times 5, 55. Now on the next line, I just add those all together, and my final answer is 200 centimeters squared. Okay, so for question 1, surface area equals 200 centimeters squared. Let's do question 2 together. So again, question 2. I always start with my formula and the proper formula. So you have to keep the 2 in there and the divide by 2. Okay, so there's my formula. And just to clarify again, these are L's, length times width. The reason why I do a cursive L is otherwise it looks like a 1, and I don't want to get confused with that. Okay, now let's fill in what we know. So on the next line, SA equals, I'm going to keep that 2. What is the base? So in question 2, the base, so do you see how these 2 triangles look different? This is a right angle triangle. It shows you with that little right angle. The base is again the distance. It's the flat distance. So it's 12 in this case. The height, so this height happened to be in the middle because it went up to the peak, right? This one is right here because it goes up to the peak, okay? So we have 12 and 9. So that's what I'm gonna write down. So 12 times 9 divided by 2. Okay, that's what I've written. Plus length times width. We'll figure out the first one. So again, if we take a look here, there is a rectangle. You can see this one. There's a rectangle on the bottom. And there's a rectangle on the side right here. So this one's a little bit more challenging to see. So I've actually drawn out the net for you so that you can take a look at it. Okay, so if I show you the original, okay, and the net, can you see them at the same time? This is the question we're talking about. You'll see that the front and the back are both right angled triangles. So that is what my 2, it looks like an airplane. That's what these 2 wings represent, is the front and the back of my triangle. Okay, this big top rectangle, I fold it open and now it's right here. The bottom is right here. Okay, so imagine underneath this shape, the bottom. And this side of the triangular prism is a smaller rectangle. So you can see that right here. So I went ahead and just labeled it for you based on the dimensions that I was given. So you can see that this distance here is 12, this one is 9, I have a 6, and I have a 15. And you have to make sure that you're labeling it properly. So when you compare again, it's a lot easier to see now where those 3 rectangles are. So it doesn't matter which one we start with. Okay, again, as long as you deal with all 3, you can put them in any order. All right, so let's just start with the bottom one because I like starting with the bottom one. So you can actually see on here, if you envision it, one of the sides of the bottom is 12, okay? So that doubles as your width again. The length of this triangle, again, from the front to the back, it is 6. That is the length of this triangle. So we're gonna start off by going 6 times 12. Okay, then add in, let's do one of the, I don't know, which one should we do? This one, this top one, because we can see it a little bit easier, right? So on my diagram here, we just did this middle one. We just did the bottom rectangle. Now let's do the big one, so on the top. So again, the length hasn't changed. So it's 6. The width of this one, it gives it to you. It is, I believe that's a 15. I'm looking at it backwards. Okay, so now we have 6 times 15. And lastly, we have the rectangle on the side here. So if we look at my net, that is this smaller rectangle. So it's a 9 by, and the width again has not changed, or sorry, the length, pardon me, the width has changed. The length is still that 6. So if I show you on here, this little side, imagine this going back, that is still 6 by 9. So that is what we're going to add in, 6 by 9. Close the brackets. Okay, so make sure you have that written down. Now, again, I'm going to simplify on my next line. So SA equals, I'm going to go back, cross off my 2's, because again, when I multiply by 2 and then divide by 2, it's like I didn't do anything at all. So saving myself a step. Great, and then we have 12 times 9. Well, 12 times 9 is 108. 6 times 12 is 72. 6 times 15 is 90. And 6 times 9, your fancy finger trick, is 54. Okay, so now we have those 4 numbers. Let's add them all together. My final answer is 324, and we are in meters squared. So hopefully that helps you just understand how to find the widths. Again, it doesn't matter which rectangle you do first, as long as you get all 3 of them in there. Okay, so please take these notes if you need them to help you, that is. Redo some of the questions if you've gotten them wrong, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.